Hi, everybody. It's Jessica Stone at Stansberry Research, and I'm talking about space with Enrique Abeyta, the editor from Empire Financial Research. We reached him in Arizona. Talk to me a little bit about the space economy, Enrique, and what are the investment implications of having a more active commercial space?
I think there's a lot of very interesting opportunities in communications, in defense, potentially in the future in commodities, and we're very early stages. So, like I said, there's a lot of opportunity to explore in this area.
There's this race now for the solid fuel rocket, right? The launcher in the Space Force. And I wonder how you see the sort of impact of having the government get re-engaged with space playing into investing in space. Does it help? Does it hurt? How does all of that play out?
Well, I think it has to happen. I mean, there are a lot of developments we've had technologically. I mean, the internet, most of what we know about jet travel, all these things that really took very large government investments to really begin to develop those markets. So I think it's crucial. But what I do think is interesting about all this, and again, I think this is being driven by technology curves, which have developed so much across the last 50 years, is that it is a public-private partnership now, as opposed to just being something being done by the governments. And ultimately, for-profit companies that have a lot of runway in front of them will develop a lot more technology and really explore this in a much greater way than I think any individual government or even groups of governments could.
One of the things we always see with space exploration and the sort of science behind it is there's so many other innovations and inventions that sort of spin off it, right? So, there's so many places to look for investment ideas. How do you approach the field and the options in that way?
Yeah, it's funny is that I struggle a little bit with space because I actually think it's kind of hard to find areas to invest at this juncture in time. Most of the technology that's being developed or the direct dollars that are being spent by very large corporations, defense companies, aerospace companies, a couple private companies. Obviously, we can talk about Blue Origin and SpaceX. I think that at this point, you've got a limited set of opportunities, although there's some relatively unknown ones that we've done some digging into that I think we'll save for maybe a newsletter sometime. But look, I think that you're buying the infrastructure companies today, and in the future we're going to see more of the companies to take advantage of that infrastructure. But right now, I'd say there's probably a group of 20 liquid ideas that are legitimate in the space, and they're all quite interesting.
Right. I can't pry it out of you, can I, Enrique? Let me turn to hypersonic weapons because that's also something that we're hearing the president talk about. That's going to bring new companies into the mix for federal contracts. Where do you see the opportunities there?
Look, actually, I think it's very similar. We'll see how many new companies actually do come into the mix. I think, the hypersonic weapons, when you look at defense contractors today that are involved in programs that would involve those kinds of expenditures, i.e. $100 million a craft, there's a relatively small number of them. I do think there are emerging players, Virgin Galactic, again, we spoke about SpaceX and Blue Origin, but I think it's a big opportunity. And one of the things I'd throw out there is it's been very interesting to watch the response to the Space Force idea. We're very embroiled in politics, here in the United States. Frankly, I think we're always embroiled in politics. I mean, we had a civil war, 130 years ago. But I think right now what's been interesting is the Space Force is a really good idea. It is a logical idea. There are other people pursuing their version of it, i.e. China and Russia, that they are not calling the Space Force. If we believe that there is a great commercial and strategic opportunity in space, we need a Space Force, or we need to have these investments. So, I think it got a lot of bad press because, frankly, anything that Trump says will get a lot of bad press. And calling it Space Force probably didn't help. But I think it's an absolutely incredible investment. And look, I think the history has said that when we make these kinds of investments, there'll probably be a lot of dollars that are not productive, but the ideas that come out of these major investments can be game changers, i.e. the internet.
All right, Enrique Abeyta, thanks so much for talking with us about space, the final frontier, and one that it's very interesting to take a look at from an investment perspective. And if you want to see much more content just like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.